If you'll please rise, we're going to open our meeting. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect our staff, employees, and residents of Mount Healthy. And continue to remind us that all we do in here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask this in your name. Amen. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everyone to our meeting, October 6th. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Here.
Mrs. Moody? Mr. Parsons?
Here.
Ms. Peterson?
Here.
Mr. Redding?
Here.
Mrs. Dosa?
Here.
Mr. George?
Here.
Okay, we have one absent,
Make a motion.
Ms.
to
Moody.
Excuse Ms. Moody.
We have a motion to excuse Ms. Moody.
Second.
Second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. You have before you the minutes from our September 15th meeting. Is there any corrections or additions?
I'll make a motion.
Oh.
Do you have?
Only
one?
thing I see, I wasn't even here.
Oh, sorry.
On page 3, ordinances, it was the second reading of the ordinance.
Oh,
That's ordinance number 20-1917.
yeah.
Yep.
So just scratch out first and make it second. Okay, anything else, council? Can I ask for a motion to adopt as corrected?
I'll make a motion be adopted as correct.
Okay, Ms. Peterson has made a motion to adopt as corrected.
I'll second.
Ms. Lingo has seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
Abstain. I was not here, so I'll abstain.
Correspondence, I really don't have anything that was other than what was in your packet and on your desk when you got here. Guest and special events, none, sir. Public input, we have some residents here tonight. If anybody'd like to address council, a couple of you signed up out there. Cindy, you don't want to? Jay? At the podium, please. And we need your name and address.
Jay Schmetzer, 7832 Joseph Street.
Yes, sir.
My concern is this, at the end of Joseph on Adams, we've had this discussion before. Coming up the hill, you can't see, but cars are parked too close to Joseph Street. You can't see cars coming up the hill. I almost got T-boned last week. And I know we
Talking
haven't had any
about-
accidents there, huh?
Adams Road,
Yeah, coming up Adams, up the hill, heading
from the stop sign up?
east, yeah.
Okay.
Headed east on Adams.
Right past Wolf's Junkin's old house. There's a sign there, no parking here at the corner, but I think it needs to be moved down, because, like I said, I almost got hit. And, it's kind of hard to see. Sometimes you got to look underneath the vehicle parked there, to possibly see if a car's coming up the hill. And we've had this discussion with Joe, I think,
Yes.
a while
Yep,
back,
Yep.
and just something that I think needs to be taken care of.
Okay.
But like I said, there hasn't been any accidents that I know of, but it's still kind of dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I have to be worried about children too. If you
Yeah,
can't see cars, you
and-
can't see children.
That's another thing on my street. they hit that corner and just fly. They're heading, what way is that? North, south. When they're heading south, they just fly. And my street suddenly become younger. The younger couples, must be 15, at least 15 little ones living now on my street. I'm the old guy now. I was a young guy 30 years ago.
Funny how that happens.
Yeah,
huh,
that's
Jay?
crazy, isn't it? And I'm concerned about the speed of
Yeah.
what we can do. I don't know. Put one of those speed signs that say you're going too fast or something, but they really hit that corner sometimes, and motorcycles, and I'm just concerned about the young.
Joe, would you like to look into that as part of the
Little
streets committee?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the eastbound lane on Adams Road going towards Joseph, I brought that up when we were talking about redoing Adams, or doing a grind and overlay on Adams. I guess that's what we're doing, right, Bill? On Adams is more of a grind and overlay, right?
Correct, some curb repair, but yes.
Yeah. So when we were talking about Adams, I brought it up, and then I brought it up just a few weeks ago, just not the last meeting, but the one before that, I think. So just as a reminder that I think while we're doing Adams, we need to take a serious look at that, because what happens is, and I know there's an issue, I think there's an issue, I shouldn't say I know, that there are cars, folks that live on Adams are parking their car right there on Adams, and they're parking it at the crest of the hill, so you can't even see the tops of, or any part of a car coming up, and you just continually are blocked. And that 20 feet just doesn't give you enough space.
Even if you
yeah.
just move it back one car space,
Yeah.
would really help.
The optimum part would be is if we could move it back to where you couldn't see the parked car, right?
Back-
The parked
back
car is all the way.
Bottom of the hill, yeah.
Well, not at the bottom, but.
The further
I mean,
back, the
up
better.
crest, it was, yeah, the further back the better, but,
For me, yeah, but I can understand people live there, want to be able to park.
yes.
but- So you don't want, happy medium would be fine with me.
Yeah.
Just so you can see a little bit more. You gotta edge out, stick your nose out there to see. And I just can't believe there hasn't been any accidents, really. I mean, I know of,
Yeah, I don't recall
know,
any either,
and,
Jay. The,
so.
The one thing I do know is a couple of those houses on Adams there, their driveway is that alley from, back on Joseph. They get the last two two houses before Joseph.
Oh, in the corner and then
Yeah.
Junkin's old house?
Yeah, they have
They
to,
got
they
the little
pull
alley.
back in there
Yeah.
to park. I think they have detached garages back in
Yeah,
there.
I think so,
So
yeah.
as long as they've got clear entrance and exit,
I think
at
it's
least
the
they
people
still have a
across the
place to
street.
park.
I think it's people that live across the street
Street?
on the north side of Adams Park.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing, but I think that's, I know there's a
Joe
truck,
is-
I know there's a truck that parks.
Joe is
just across
chairman of the
street.
Streets and Safety Committee, and this committee will look into that and recommend things to council.
And then it also, it's something about I don't know what you can do about the speed, but it's just straight away,
Have a-
and it's straight
Don't we
to
have
the-
one
and
of
it's-
those signs?
We do, yeah, it's
We'll ask the
currently
chief.
on Bernard, or on Clover Neck, waiting to go to Bernard, yeah. What I suggest you always do for people is to don't think you're bothering the police. Don't think you're bothering the police, call and let them know.
Yeah.
Because we just don't randomly go around running radar, and we like to have some backup that shows, hey, we were getting complaints here, that's why it goes to court. Why did you start running radar on the street? Because we had these complaints, concerns, and that helps us a lot. So I think a lot of times people think they're bothering the police, but it's not a bother at all. Even if it's just a phone call, say, hey, there's a lot of speeding going on, call our clerk, she'll pass that on, and then we've got a record that we're building there.
Okay,
But this
will.
should suffice, right, Bill? I mean, for tonight, I mean, it's on,
Well,
we're
it'd be
getting it on
best if
record,
he-
right? Yeah,
Well, yeah.
yep. I mean,
Good for him to call the police, or,
yeah.
Yeah.
And also tonight, so.
yeah.
Alrighty.
Exactly.
All right, and if the neighbors are concerned, please
Nobody's ever
please
said
ask them to call.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah. Please note,
So there's a lot of young kids, all of a sudden, little ones, I mean, I just realized that this week. I think, man, we got a lot of little kids on the street now that we didn't have before, which is good, I mean, I don't mind it, but a lot of young couples with kids.
we are getting the same complaint all over the city about speeding and running stop signs.
Really,
so
yeah. I don't
We're,
know.
we're doing the best we can.
I understand. I thought I'd put it out there.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jay. Thanks for coming up.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to address council? Do we have anybody online? Bill?
We have a few people online, but nobody has put any comments out. I'll continue to watch it. as
All
we
right,
go
well,
through
we'll
council.
come back if there is somebody.
Okay.
Then we'll move on to the mayor's report. He's not here, so we'll go on to the city manager's report. Mr. Coker.
Thanks. Just a few things tonight. I did get notice from the Board of Elections that they calculated our election costs for the special election we had in August. And the cost came in at $8,546.85. The estimate was $8,000. We've already paid $5,000 of that, so next year they're going to bill us the difference for that, plus this November election. The remaining cost for August is $3,546.85. So I think that was good. I think that was a lot better than what we were kind of
A
anticipating.
lot better than what the fire department got.
Yeah, with that joint district. So I got that update late on Friday, so I wanted to share that with you. The next item is member of council asked me to kind of give you an update on where we are with the fire department since we've passed the levy. I included in your packet just some information. One of the first things we did was put a job description together and got that vetted, and it's there for the full-time positions. And then we just started to lay out the process that we're going to go through, right? We've already talked about the civil service process and that they are going to be classified positions. Just today, we were able to secure the location, which is going to be Assumption, is where they're actually going to host the test on November 4th. So the notifications are going to go out tomorrow. We were struggling. We don't really have a location. We don't know how many people is going to show up. We kind of got into a little bit of a jam with the police exam that we gave not too long ago. At the last minute, we got a bunch of applications. It was more than what we could handle in our community room. The Legion was gracious enough to help us out, and we were able to move the test there. We're just going to move it to Assumption at this point, so that's all good news. So like I said, the date for that is going to be the 4th of November. And in going through this process, as always, as you start to really, peel back the onion, we came across in the civil service rules, just a quick history. Civil service rules were created kind of as a result of the Ohio Revised Code. So a lot of the information comes out of there is just directly from the Ohio Revised Code. And one of the things that we've always allowed for is military credit on police exams. And that's a direct quote right out of the Ohio Revised Code. Over the years, we've established other things to try to attract and to get the best candidates that we can. And we started giving credit for associate's degrees and bachelor's degrees. We actually negotiated in a contract and this was all for the police department, mind you. And actually in the civil service, it referenced the police department because at the time that was the only department that really was impacted. And we negotiated in a contract where we actually give some credit for folks that have been here for a year or more as a part-timer, if they were to take a civil service exam for an entry-level full-time position. So when we sat down with the civil service to kind of say, okay, this is what we need to do, this is where we're going, we realized, number one, that the civil service rules reference the police department specifically on a couple of these things. And there's some age differences, and actually, in an ordinance that you're going to consider tonight, we need to make one change in there because it references the age of 21. We actually can hire a firefighter, and the chief is interested in doing it at 18. So we want to change that in the ordinance. We can just strike that age. It's the only place it's referenced. So that's why we got kind of at the last minute, we got this ordinance together because we want to basically apply the same pieces, the same parts of what we have in the civil service rules to both police and fire. And really those are the two things as we're going through this hiring process that are impacted. I really think we're going to have to take a look at this after we get this done and probably do a real thorough cleanup of the civil service rules. This kind of just addresses this here and now so that we can keep the hiring process going for the full-timers. So that was one thing that is on your on the agenda for later. And like I said, there was just this information in here. You know, there's references of salaries in here, but keep in mind, at the end of the day, obviously, council sets the salary amount, so we'll have an ordinance, but we kind of had to start somewhere, and this was based off a lot of our discussions of, you know, we had a kind of a top-end number for people, well, we figured they needed to be the most qualified, and then we backed off of that for people that don't have as many certifications or whatever, and it was kind of outlined in this document for you. But again, you guys will pass an ordinance that establishes their salary once we are ready for that. So, any other questions or comments or anything going on with what we're doing with the fire department?
Anybody? Okay, I guess not, sir.
Okay,
I'm sure there'll be more questions later.
Sure,
As people
sure.
think about things.
right, great. Also later in the council, I'd like to establish, we talked about this last meeting, there's a legislation tonight that will authorize me to go out, or have our engineers go out to vote for the, or not got to vote, authorized to go out to request the LTIP and SKIP funds. But I really want to get a specific motion tonight that I can give back to them based on the conversations we've had, the discussions you guys have had, and where we're at with what our, you know, basically two really thing, you know, I think we have the streets that we've talked about, right? It's Hamilton, it's the Forrest Warner project, and it's Compton.
Road.
But we need to know priority and what percentage we want to match with that. So I just like to make sure we get it in a motion just that way, because there's just been so many different discussions over the past month about this, and just so we have it on record. So maybe we can bring that up under, you know, under new business and just do it as a motion, or old business, however, just don't let us forget it. But those were the, I think, did I miss anything on that, Joe, or anybody else that
No,
we need to?
no, and I apologize. I did not bring my notes tonight on that, Bill, so.
Yeah. Well, I think
But I think we have a
we have a pretty
pretty
good.
solid idea.
Right. Another item that was in the packet tonight was a proposal from the port. We're all familiar with the I call it the grassy knoll there on Compton. It was the old tire store that we took thousands of tires out of, and just kind of took that building in because it was such an eyesore up there, and there's been Buster issues with that. Buster is the underground storage tank folks, and probably 10 years ago, and I was aware of this, and we've talked about it. They told us that there was there was issues there. You'd never, basically you wouldn't be able to sell the property until it was cleaned up. Kind of thought, well, we're not planning on selling it anytime soon, and just kind of let the issues sit there until we got notice when Cindy was trying to purchase Hilltop Glass, and with her small business loan, they wouldn't give her the loan because of the issues with our property, and we don't need to go through that again. So there was some testing that was done. Her property was clean. Our property still shows some signs, so there needs to be some remediation and different testing levels and so forth. The port is going to help us apply for funding, because that can get very, very expensive. That's one of the reasons why we truly believe there's not worry about with this is you don't want any kind of contamination getting into the groundwater, but there's so much bedrock underneath there. When we talk to the folks, we don't believe that's an issue, but we got to get the issue fixed, because we don't want to have another business owner up there have an issue with trying to get a loan or whatever. So we're going to work with the port, hopefully secure funding with them. If we can, and they have people that can help us that will apply for that. If we get that funded with them, then they're going to kind of be the project manager with us, and there's a fee, and it's all laid out in that document. 5% or up to $8,000 it might be, but they may secure tens of thousands of dollars in grant money to get this cleaned up. So I think it's a really good approach. And I talked to them today just to make sure we're gonna work. The next step will be to apply for funding, and secure that funding. If we don't get the funding, there's no fee from them up to that point. Their fee would only start once we secure it and once we start to do the remediation and so forth on that. So it's, you know, that's a whole other level of expertise that, you know, we don't have anybody on staff that has it, so it's great that they're gonna help us with it, so. Once we get this funding secured, we'll set up a, you know, hopefully we can even, I doubt it, that's gonna happen between now and the end of the year, so we can get this budgeted for next year, that cost. And that's all I have for tonight.
Okay, interesting. That old Trustler Comet service station's coming back around at us,
It's
isn't it?
been around for a while, right?
Now, I'm like Jay, I'm kind of dating myself by knowing that was the Trestler Comet.
Absolutely, TC.
Yeah. Any questions for Mr. Coker on any of this? Okay, we're going to move on to ordinances and resolutions. We have no second readings on ordinances and resolutions, so we've got first readings. First reading on an ordinance, ordinance number 20-1919. Were they numbered on our? Anyway, it's an ordinance assessing costs of the removal of high grass and weeds and declaring an emergency.
Same old stuff we do.
Same old stuff. I don't know if you guys noticed on there, but 7700 Hamilton Avenue is on there, which is CVS, and we've cut their grass 3 times this year.
Wow.
CVS doesn't own that building. It's a different company, but still, you would think they would be able to keep up on their grass.
So they don't hardly have any grass.
I know. They don't cut it. A little they have.
Has Bill contacted the owner at all? I mean, he has to contact him about the
Right.
invoice.
Yeah, you know, a lot of it comes up with kind of like what we hear, you know, a lot of the blame goes to, a contractor is not showing up, doing this. I mean, you know, store manager is like, hey, I got my own, I don't know what to tell you. You know, you got CVS on one end, and I think Bill contacts them both and gives them so much time. If they don't do it, we cut it.
Gets expensive, doesn't it, to have,
Yeah.
pay a kid with a lawnmower $20. It'd be a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Okay, council, what did you like? This is, like to go through on a first reading, Bill, so that we can get it down to,
Yes, that'd be great.
council?
Suspend, right?
Right, yeah.
I'll make a motion to suspend the 2 reading rule.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to suspend. Mr. George has seconded.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mrs. Moody? Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the motion to suspend the 2 reading rule has been approved. Any questions on this ordinance before we move on?
Nope. I make a motion to pass, or to
To adopt?
adopt. Thank you, Ross.
It's all right, I have trouble with words, too.
To adopt.
We have a
Ordinance
motion by Mr. Redding to
20-1919.
adopt. Do I have a second?
I second.
Ms. Dosa?
Mrs. Lingo? Mrs. Moody? Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Okay, motion, or ordinance number 20-1919 is adopted. Second one, ordinance 20-1920, an ordinance amending the 2020 appropriations and declaring an emergency.
Someday we're going to give Scott his seat back.
I know, right? It's all good. Let's see, back in June, council passed a resolution to request COVID money from the county. So that we have received the funds, and this is basically the next administrative step, obviously besides spending the money. But we're supposed to formally incorporate these funds into our budget. So this is sort of like a housekeeping item that we typically do at the end of the year. It's just adding a revenue and an expense line. So this $100,000 that you see listed here is just what we received from the county. And we're formally telling them that, yes, we are going to spend it and spend it on COVID-related expenses.
Okay, super. That helps us.
2 readings is fine. The original due date was next week, but they pushed it back to November 20th. So if we want to do 2, that's fine. You can do it in 1 if you'd really like. But
Okay. Everybody understand what this is for?
Yes.
Somebody's giving us money and we're gonna take it.
Yeah.
Is this 100% reimbursement? Or,
There's a separate fund that's reimbursement. I guess, what do you mean by reimbursement?
so we're asking for relief and expenses are 106, 117?
So they've already given us, so the revenue line, like, we've already received it.
Yes.
And
Okay,
then-
without sending them anything, they just sent it.
Yes.
Wow.
No, we sent we passed an ordinance in June
Right.
authorizing it, yeah.
Yes.
So they
Yes.
sent it.
We just asked for it, but did we ask for a certain dollar amount?
No.
No, that's
We
what,
said
that's
we'll
what I'm-
take everything you give us, and it's coming from the state, kind of based on a formula from,
It's the local government
Local
fund, I
government
think.
fund.
yeah.
Okay,
So if we
Good
did
enough.
not pass this, we would have to pay it back by the due date, and then they'd put it back in a pot and redistribute it to other people who, but we won't have a problem
Yep.
spending it, so.
okay.
right, and we're mainly, there's been some direct COVID expenses from sanitizers to everything. But a lot of this is, we've had to maintain our staffing levels on our first responders throughout this whole ordeal, right? When everybody was furloughing everything, we had to maintain those levels. So a lot of what we're expensing towards that is for those costs.
Right.
There's
Okay,
another ordinance that's coming up later that's a different thing that we'll talk about.
okay. Yeah, I didn't know, yeah, I just wanted to make sure if we got, if we've been tracking those costs, how close to fully reimbursed are we with these funds, or?
I mean, these, we won't have a problem, matching these up with what they've given us
Okay.
expenses wise, so I mean, it's.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Mr. Bauer, if we get other funds, will we have to do this again?
Yeah, I think, so the due date, November 20th, basically a week later, whatever the county has received back, I think they'll kind of redo the formula and then pay it out again. So we could get another payment in December, just like this, where we do the same thing. I mean, it's that late in the year, I don't know if we could just wait till normal housekeeping, I would just play it by ear, but in general, yes, we would have to do the same thing.
Okay, council? What is your wish on 1920? The ordinance number. Mr. Redding?
I make a motion that we suspend the 2 reading rule. We might as well get it as quick as we can, right?
Yep.
I agree, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Redding and a second by Mr. George. Roll call.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Ms. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye?
Mrs. Dosa, Mr. George.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the 2 reading rule's been suspended for ordinance number 20-1920.
I make a motion to adopt.
Okay. Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt.
Second?
Mr. Redding has seconded.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Ms. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye?
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 20-1920 is adopted.
Thank you.
Next ordinance and last ordinance. And that would be ordinance number 20-1921, is that correct?
2-1, yes.
An ordinance establishing the civil service rules for examinations and grading of the Mount Healthy Fire Department for full-time positions. Ordinance number 20-1921. Comments, questions? You said there was already, the council has to approve the budget or the salaries, which is,
Well, yeah, that will come separate. Yeah, this just allows us to get the ball rolling with the whole examination process and grading for the civil service. Like I mentioned before, Section 4, it has in here as a 21 year of age. If council's so inclined, they could change that to 18. That was the chief's request. But if we could pass this tonight, it'd be great. This way I can share it with the Civil Service Commission, and they can just make sure they're comfortable with everything, which I know they will be, and then it aligns with how they grade the police exam that we just gave. So, but again, mainly what we're addressing here is age, and then the credits that we give for bachelor, associates, and part-time.
Make a motion to suspend 2 reading rule.
Ms. Lingo has made a motion to suspend the 2 reading rule.
I'll second that.
Mr. Parsons is seconded.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Ms. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the two reading rule's been suspended. Questions or comments yet on this?
Do we need to make a motion to change the 21 to 18?
Yeah.
Oh, as amended.
What section was that under?
Section
Section 4. Wait, I thought,
Section 4.
wait a minute, did I mishear you, Bill? I thought they wanted to leave it at 21.
No, they don't. They want to, the fire chief's preference would be that's different than police. Police is 21.
Yes.
Fire,
That's-
you can hire at 18, and the chief's logic behind it was, hey, if we've got a great candidate that's 18 or 19 or even 20 years old, why limit it? So, yeah, the request would be to strike that 21 and make it 18. So I guess it would be, you would adopt it as amended.
Would somebody like to make a motion to change that or
Yes,
more
can I-
discussion?
Can I make a motion to change the age of 21 to 18 in section 4?
Okay. Mr. George has made a motion to change the age requirement, section 4, from 21 to 18.
I'll second that motion.
Mr. Parsons has seconded the motion. That's just a voice vote there, wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of said motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried 6-0. 18 years of age.
What else did the chief want to change?
That was it. That was it.
I do have a question. Am I missing, is there no credit for military service?
Well, again, it's a good question, just for clarity. The Ohio Revised Code, it has that in it, and when we adopted our civil service rules, and it's generic. So it's not specific for anybody. It's just a classified person taking that test. What we're doing here is, over time, as we modified our civil service rules, it was always specific for police. So it was specific for police for bachelor and associates. It was specific for police for part-time. It wasn't specific in the original document when it was for military. That was already in there. That's just general, so we don't need to modify that. But they will
Okay.
get the credit.
Okay.
Right. Does that make
'Cause it's
sense?
like
Yes.
5% or something?
20.
20.
Of the passing score.
Okay.
Section 6A, Joe,
Did I miss it?
top of the third page.
Okay. Oh, yep, there it is, yep.
Okay, council, what is your wish? We had we've suspended a two-reading rule. We made a motion to change the age.
I make a motion to adopt as amended.
Do we need to?
Mr. Parsons is,
Never mind.
what's that?
I'm good, I'm good.
Mr. Parsons has made a motion to adopt as amended.
Second.
Mr. George seconded.
Mrs. Lingo, Mrs. Moody, Mr. Parsons.
Aye.
Ms. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, ordinance number 20-1921 is adopted. Resolutions. First resolution. 20-1149. A resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. Mr. Scott Bauer.
So the county has sent us what they estimate to collect for next year for our levies. If you look on the next page, that kind of details it out. The top left, it'll show by fund, the total, and then actually you can see if you look further down the page where they have our new 12.9 fire levy separated out, so you can see each individual levy there. I've also attached a chart that just kind of shows the trend line for how much we've been collecting each year. Goes from left to right. Then at the very bottom, it'll show how much we've actually collected versus how much the county has estimated each year. I mean, everything seems in order. Seems like it's roughly what we were expecting for the new fire levy. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Bauer?
This has to be filed before our next meeting.
Yes, the 19th is the deadline. It's usually a pretty quick turnaround. They give this to us roughly mid-September and then want it back mid-October, and it kind of seems like it always falls in where we only have one meeting to approve it. If you want to take 2 readings, you can. It's a simple process to extend it, but again, if we would want it to get it in by the original deadline, tonight would have to be single reading.
Questions, council? Everybody understand that? No?
Yep.
Is that a no, Judy?
Yes.
Oh. No, it was yes. What is your wish, council? Mr. Redding,
I make a motion to suspend the 2 reading rule for Resolution 20-1149.
okay, Mr. Redding has made a motion to suspend.
I'll second that.
Mr. Parsons has seconded.
Mrs. Lingo? Mrs. Moody? Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, the 2 reading rule has been suspended. Are there any other questions? Everybody got this? I would ask a motion to adopt.
Make a motion to adopt.
Ms. Dosa has made a motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. George, seconded.
Mrs. Lingo? Mrs. Moody? Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, resolution number 20-1149 is adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, Scott, that helps you get things done. Next resolution. There, that was 4-9. This would be 50.
1150, yes, 20.
Okay. A resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Mount Healthy to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Ohio Public Works Commission State Capital Improvement and/or local transportation improvement programs and to execute contracts as required. That is resolution number 20-1150. Bill?
Sure. Well, there you go. Now you know what SKIP stands for. You know what LTIP stands for, right? So, yeah, you know, we've been talking about this. Honestly, we can take a first reading tonight. We could go right in after this and maybe do the motion to determine what we want to do with the the actual percentages and priorities. But this is just a generic. We pass it every year. We need it to request the funds. You know, we have a meeting on the 20th, right? 2 weeks from today. We would just need 4 there to pass it. I wouldn't want to go past that, but we could.
Have they said when these are going to be due, the requests?
It is in November, early November.
Okay. Well, what are we looking at, just off the top of your head? We're looking at Hamilton Avenue for sure, the LTIP to be our first priority?
Yeah, I think,
Yes.
yeah, I mean, Joe, you can give a summary, I can give a summary of, I think, where we were last week. There's definitely a couple pieces that aren't firm yet, right? But,
Ohio Municipal League funds, right? No, or is that for,
yeah,
okay, that's for Compton. Sorry.
No, there's not, I don't know what Ohio Municipal League funds
Or,
are.
I'm sorry, Hamilton County road funds.
Yeah, the MRF, municipal road funds, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think the plan is, right now, and I'll just fill in some of the blanks, we have secured about 50% of the $1.2 million, roughly $1.3 million project through the urban paving program. All right, so the state's already committed to pay for half of that. It's a combination thereof, right? They pay for 80% of the blacktop work. They pay for 0% of any kind of concrete work that's needed to be done. So it roughly ends up being about half of the project cost is the rule of thumb they provide us. that we can use as what they call outside funds, and that's why I think we've decided that it makes sense when we apply for these funds, like we talked about earlier. I was joking, but seriously, the skip funds is what we usually qualify for each year, and that's based on condition is a huge factor in there, and unfortunately, a lot of our streets score well on that, and that's why we're able to secure, millions of dollars really over the last several years. We typically don't qualify for or score, not that we don't qualify, we don't score well on LTIP funding projects because we only have a $100,000 street levy. When you're talking $1.3 million, we don't have those funds to leverage to get the outside funds to score well on it. Because we've secured this other grant and can match it with that, plus, like Joe said, add municipal road funds to it to help pay for the engineering. The sense from our engineers is that we're going to score really well, especially if we make it a one priority. And knowing that this is coming down the barrel, we don't want to give up the $565,000 that we've already secured. We know we might be on the hook for that. So hey, yeah, it makes sense to make this the number one priority, score well on LTIP, and get it nearly fully funded, maybe
Yes.
some residual costs of anywhere between $15,000 and $20,000. That's a great thing to get Hamilton Avenue done for that amount of money. It's not guaranteed, but we feel kind of confident. Then the second piece was our next priority, which we'll score with skip. And what I think we had decided to do is our number 2 project last year was Forest Warner
yep.
combination. And make that the second priority, I think, is what we discussed at the last meeting. But the key to that is, what is the match?
Mm-hmm.
That's the key that we really never really decided upon last meeting. In the past, we've always done 20, and usually we're right at the line and got a lot of them funded. That's not happening anymore. I mean, a lot of communities are putting in 50% matches to get these funds secured. So we've had to jump it up to probably a minimum of 30% match. As a number 2 priority, we still feel pretty confident we could possibly get that funded as well.
And that's also 1.2 million.
Correct.
So Hamilton Avenue is 1.2 and then the 1.3 with engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes.
Yeah, Hamilton Avenue is 1.136, and that's total, all in on Madison and Force is $1.3 million.
Million.
I mean,
okay.
we're rounding a little bit, $100,000
Yeah.
here, right?
Yep. But I'm okay with going, so we can do this in increments of 10%, right? So we can go for 30, we can go for 40, we can go 50. I'm just trying to find that sweet spot where we just get in. So,
Well, I was looking at the minutes, and JMA in the minutes was saying 50% match, and I definitely don't want to go for that.
right. No, I get that. That's a little rich for our blood.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe 30 or 40, 10% on 1.2 million is 120 grand, so.
So that's what we should all be thinking about for the next meeting when we
Yes.
do our final recommendation.
Yes, but I want to talk about Compton Road too, because unfortunately, that would push us to 3. That would push us to the third, our third option, which would, to get that is going to be difficult, I would think.
Right. A lot of times it's rare that we would ever get 2 projects in one year. I don't recall. This I think this is our best year to have that happen. We typically qualify for skip funds. We've been pretty successful getting one funded, and we put that second one in there. We've done crazy things like actually put it on I shouldn't say that because we got park funded as well on a 10% match, but we had other factors going on. We lobbied with
Yeah,
North
we
College.
in
partnered
conjunction with North
College
College Hill, yep.
Hill. So I mean, but the chances of us getting Compton, but what it does is it allows us to get the project scored, and it gives us a little visibility that at the next go around, this time next year, how did that project score? If it scored well, yeah, then we don't, we may not need that. We could feel a little
May
bit
be
better.
able to come in with 30
Maybe
versus.
we need to do 40%. That's kind of what, it's that kind of that waiting in line turn that it is, because I mean, I'll be realistic. I mean, there's chances of us getting all 3 of these projects funded, $3 million isn't going to happen, but it gets Compton in the queue for the next go around.
Yep. No, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think that's our best alternative. I mean, unless you want to switch 2 and 3, but I don't know that we, I think 2 is Forest and that is pretty bad, so.
It should score pretty good, I would
Yeah,
think.
right. So really what the next thing we need, to Bob's point, if we just do a first reading on this tonight and we can pass it, we can hold off on the motion till the next meeting. Really what we needed to determine is what percentage are you gonna do for the second priority, Madison and Forest, and what percentage are you gonna do for the third priority of Compton?
Yeah. And the other part about going back to Hamilton Avenue and the risk of having some interest on that loan, after we pay for Adams, and once we get Adams in the mix and Maple in the mix, we would still have 300,000 in our road funds that we could apply to the principal of that loan, so.
Yeah, I think we're forecasting probably around,
thought
having
it was
about
20.
$300,000 in our skip, in our street levy. That we try to keep a balance in there because there's always something that comes up, or you need it for, for an engineering costs. We've used some of it for the traffic
Signals.
signaling systems,
Yep.
so yeah. But yeah, there is revenue. We could, if we were on the hook for the 568 that we know we have coming with Hamilton, or more really, because we also have the municipal road funds, but we were hoping to get that. Yeah, we could leverage, we could buy that down with some of our reserves and then not have to borrow that much money.
Yeah, and when is Hamilton due to start?
Man, it's probably not until January 21.
January 21? 22.
22, I mean,
So that would give us another year of funds.
right,
So, okay,
yeah.
that's.
I mean, it's gonna be started, I mean, the engineering's gonna be, it's a lot slower process when you're going with the state, but hey, they're giving us this money, so we gotta
Yeah.
bear with it. But it's a longer, drawn-out process than the skip process, but hey, we'll take it, right?
I like free money.
Right.
Yep, no, I'm, yes. So the only thing we have to decide on, really is Forest, and the percentage we want to do.
And the same for Compton,
Well, yeah,
percentage for Compton.
yep,
I think we've kind of agreed on this, the priorities,
Yeah.
it's just the percentage.
yep.
Like, is that his car? Do you hear it?
Yeah, that car.
Yeah,
I know.
It's
I've
probably
heard
mine.
it.
Good point.
It's probably mine.
I don't see nobody's lights are blinking anyway.
Must be out in the front. We can check on it before we go into the executive session.
I'm surprised.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully we get at least 2 of the 3, so.
Yeah.
So what is your request here on this resolution?
So we can take it first.
First reading?
First, you,
Everybody agree on that?
reading?
I know this
Okay.
is technically your task.
First reading on that.
I was gonna push to suspend, Bill, but okay.
We have one more resolution. Resolution 20-1151. And this was on your desk. A resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Mount Healthy to accept funds from the 2020 CARES Act and to execute local jurisdiction agreement. What do we got here, sir?
Not to confuse matters, but all this stuff is very good news, right? And probably something I should have touched on in my report, but I'll do it now if you allow me, is there's a lot of COVID money available, and we're going after it everywhere we can, right? And as aggressively as we can. There's community development has some funds available that we're working on. It's posted on our website to try to expand outdoor seating for businesses. I've been in contact with the Business Association. I've been in contact with a few of the business owners, Goodies, Fibonacci. I've talked to Vince's other place, just trying to get feedback. We're hoping to secure and help businesses accomplish this outdoor seating stuff. We're talking about putting in a pavilion down across from Goodies with picnic tables to help Goodies, Angelo's outdoor seating. I talked to Tony today about that. We're requesting over $96,000 to purchase picnic tables, hand sanitizing stations, everything. The money's available. We're going after it. So And we're hoping we get some of this stuff and distribute it to a lot of businesses. I don't know how we're going to do it. Figure out a way, have them request, hey, I could use some picnic tables, some recycled picnic tables for outdoor seating, any of the restaurant businesses. So that's a good thing. That just came up about what's been out there, but it just we aggressively got going on it over the last week. And then in the meantime, we received another email which is included here. So let me get this. So I'll probably be back to you with another ordinance allowing me to accept the funds that we get from community development. I wanted to wait till we see what we got, right? If we get it, it's not a guarantee, but we're hoping. So then another notice goes out, and essentially the way I understand it, and it's a moving target and it's a moving discussion, is that there were two sources of money from the CARES Act, some that funneled through the state, some that funneled through the federal government. The state is what Scott was talking about earlier. We started that process earlier in the year, earlier in June. We passed the legislation that we needed, and we got the money. And so the money's already here. We have to we have to now apply an expense against that and show them. And we show them, we're good. Well, just last week, another source comes out that says, it says in the contract that there's $78,000 available for us for CARES Act relief, that it's funneled through a different way, and it's a different approach where they tell us, hey, the money's sitting here, you have to get it reimbursed, basically. So we've already had to expend it, which we have. I mean, because a lot of what, because our revenues are extremely impacted this year for everything from income tax to, we don't have court going on. Not that we rely heavily on court, but we usually collect a couple $100,000 through courts, and we haven't hardly had any mayor's courts. Every revenue source is struggling. Businesses, they lay off people. Well, we can't, because we still have to have people ready to respond for COVID emergencies, our police and our fire and so forth. So again, we feel that we'll be able to apply. So this isn't like by any means be a windfall. Really what it's going to do is hopefully keep us whole from the revenue losses. We talked about in our last meeting, Bob, anywhere between $100,000 and $150,000 in income tax revenue loss there. So, I mean, if you add together what these two funds, the 106 plus 78, that's 184,000. That's great, But it's not like this is it's a windfall and the city's coming to money. I mean, our revenues are going to be down in totality that much. So this is just more good news. It's grateful that we can use it. We have to, or Melanie will have to submit payroll records to show it will be payroll that we've used for patrol officers and firefighters and so forth. So it's good news. So what this does is authorize me to accept the money. So again, we've done this earlier. This is the second phase, and we'll have another one if we get the community development funds. So.
How soon do you have to have this one?
I was just about to ask.
I think on this one, actually, the sooner the better. The quicker we get this going, the better, because I can sign this agreement. We can get with Melanie. We can find out what exactly we need to get reimbursed, and we can get it moving and get the revenues in before year end.
Okay.
I have a comment. Any pavilion or picnic table we supply to someone, we're going to have an agreement that they sanitize them
Oh yeah.
between uses and stuff.
We're not, yeah, some stuff will be supply. I mean, some of that stuff, if we turn over a picnic table to a business to say, hey, use this, it's theirs. We don't, but we'll have like, where we're talking about maybe doing the pavilion is on our property.
Right.
Okay. Fibonacci, there's some stuff that might be done on, once it goes to their property, then they're really responsible for it.
But if it's on our property, we're going to have to clean it between use?
You need a full-time employee
I know,
for that.
right. I don't know how you're gonna do that, to be honest with you, but, yeah.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Look into that.
In January, hopefully, it's cold. There's COVID. No, I don't know. I'm not joking. Joke about it, but yeah, I don't know, Bob. But I mean, it's kind of they're pushing you to get one thing going, and you can't be all places at all times, and hopefully people that use it just use some, follow the CDC guidelines. Wipe it down and go from there. So.
Okay, council, any other comments, questions?
I'll make a motion to suspend the 2-reading rule.
Mr. George has made a motion to suspend the 2-reading rule. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Ms. Dosa is seconded.
Mrs. Lingo? Aye. Mrs. Moody? Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Aye.
Okay, by motion, or by a margin of 6-0, 2 reading rules been suspended. Any other questions or comments regarding this resolution? Then I would ask for a motion to adopt.
I make a motion to adopt.
Ms. Dosa has made a motion to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Redding has seconded. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Lingo?
Aye.
Mrs. Moody? Mr. Parsons?
Aye.
Ms. Peterson?
Aye.
Mr. Redding?
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa? Mr. George?
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, resolution number 20-1151 is adopted.
Just one last thing on that. There was some discussion earlier today because I would never commit the city to expenses that we haven't been either budgeted or known about, right? I mean, we always talk about those things. We make a lot of housekeeping at the end of the year. But on revenue, I think we're pretty much on the same page. Hey, if it's out there, I proposed to the law director to say, hey, couldn't we just authorize me to sign this and then put in there also any other revenue sources that became available because of the pandemic that I could accept without going through this? And he didn't want to do it because he said it's just so confusing. He wants to track each time. So there was discussion of adding that would have maybe covered the community development one, but it's fine. It's just, we'll get it in front of you, and you'll just authorize me to accept those funds. So maybe there's a reason somewhere down the line that we're not thinking of that we wouldn't want to, but I can imagine, right?
Okay. That is all of our legislation, ordinances, and resolutions. On to old business.
Okay.
Ms.
So
Lee,
are we going to have Halloween now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, that was,
I read
I
that
was
it was
just
up to
gonna-
each community, right? Municipality.
It's up to each community, yeah, and our plan is to have it on the 31st from 6 to 8, like always, unless the state tells us otherwise.
All right. I know things can change.
What are we
up
talking
to
about?
that
Right.
point.
Halloween.
Halloween,
Oh, Halloween.
So I'm sure that makes Mount Healthy ends happy.
right?
I have a question.
yes.
What is the status of the Adams Road project? Has that been bid or anything?
No, it's.
Not
still-
even out for bids yet?
No, they're still engineering, they're still working with Waterworks to,
Oh, that's right.
yeah,
They're,
coordinate with their, and doing engineering. I mean, I know they're down there and. Down there quite a bit. Okay, great.
they're doing water mains only on Elizabeth or Elizabeth and
Elizabeth
Hickman?
and Hickman.
Both of them? Okay. And what about the project for the traffic signals?
Yeah, it's been bid and was supposed to start in September, but it hasn't. I think everything is getting blamed on COVID these days, and I know things are, and I say that kind of tongue in cheek, but I do realize there's, and we all are seeing it. There's crazy stuff that's not available, right? I mean, you go to the grocery store, it's like, why isn't that there? Well, it's not a priority. It's trucking's taking up. But I had talked earlier today about you, and I sent an email and I haven't heard back, but hopefully by next meeting they can give us an update.
Okay. I have a question. When do we hear about the SAFER grant for the fire department?
Yeah, we haven't heard. I don't know if any news is good. No news is good news, but we have not heard. Typically, it's about this time of year. I think last year was at the end of September. We haven't heard but
They haven't announced any of the grades?
not that.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good news.
Makes me feel better.
Yes. Got my fingers crossed on, well, all of them, but especially that one.
Right.
Any other old business, council? New business? Ms. Lingo?
I noticed that the parking lot across from the post office was redone. It looks really good. Did
Thank
our
you.
guys do that?
That is.
Makes a big difference.
Yeah. They got all the lots done, I think, this week.
They also had tow trucks in those lots pulling people out, so.
And look at the cupola next time you guys go out. We had to get a huge crane in here to get that thing painted, but they painted the roof on it red. I think it gives it some pop. It's kind of cool.
Not that
If it's not moving right now, we're painting it, so keep moving.
And it looks like they made the center lane go in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Some wise old man mentioned that, but I don't know who.
the alley
Center lane of what?
Old.
on it, that's
Center
good.
lane of what, sir? Center lane
Now you
of
just gotta
what?
put those arrows.
The lane up by the alley and the lane down by the mailbox go that way, and the center lane comes back the other way,
First Financial.
off of
Go in
Kenny.
that alley
Oh,
to
okay.
get to the drive-through.
Okay, any other new business, council?
New business or old business?
We're on new business.
Oh, new business. Got a question
Send those arrows there.
or a comment?
Yes, sir.
I noticed in something I was reading today for accountants that, or for the state, that it sounds like there's going to be another workers' comp refund.
Oh, great.
And when, that wasn't expected, I don't think. We should be getting a nice chunk of money from that
Great.
by the end of the month, I think.
Okay. Anybody else?
Everybody
Ready.
done? Yes. Like to make a motion to go into executive session for council in accordance with Ohio Revised Code 121-.22 G1 to discuss one of the following topics, which is a promotion of a public employee or a public official.
Okay.
I'll second
We
that.
need a roll call vote for council?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion to go into executive session, has been seconded.
Mrs. Lingo,
Aye.
Mrs. Moody, Mr. Person,
Aye.
Ms. Peterson,
Aye.
Mr. Redding,
Aye.
Mrs. Dosa,
Aye.
Mr. George.
Aye.
Okay, by a vote of 6-0, council has voted to go into executive session for the purpose of a promotion of a public employee, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So what we'll do is this essentially will end our meeting. We will come back in and we will not have any more business. Nothing else will be done.
We
The
will
meeting will be
adjourn.
over. We'll just come back in and establish the time that occurred. So ICRC doesn't need to continue
Right.
to stay here. And plus, we need this room because I don't think we could get socially distanced in the small room that we usually have.
Oh, that's right.
So,
Yes.
thanks for coming, but
we're going into executive session.
Thank you for coming. Thank you all for coming.
we'll give